So I want to talk about some things that I'm struggling with as a first generation wealth builder because I know that a lot of people are building wealth for the first time. And sometimes we get on the internet and we make it look so easy when the behind the scenes is incredibly messy. The behind the scenes threatens to take your life from you and snatch your edges back. And so I want to kind of shed some light on some things that I am struggling with so that you will know that you're not alone even as we build wealth. Hey y'all, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Brianna Whiteside, and welcome back to another installment of Recession Millionaires, where we talk about positioning ourselves to emerge as the new cohort of millionaires. Now, if you don't know, 2020 ushered in a new cohort of 2021, 2022 millionaires, and that cycle was complete. Now, if you weren't in that cycle like I wasn't, because I didn't know enough about getting money back then, but I've learned a lot since, then you don't want to miss this new cycle that's setting us up to be 2026, 2027 millionaires. Because with every economic downturn, millionaires emerge. And so I want to talk to you about my own journey. I've shared it before that I am rebuilding my life, rebuilding my finances after leaving my career on faith to follow God. And we are literally 11 months post that decision, and nothing has really happened. Like literally June marks a year. And I never thought that I would be in this same position waiting for God to come through and do all the things. I didn't think it'll take this long. And so rather than just sit idle, rather than just feel sorry for myself, I just decided, okay, you're going to have to do something, and you're going to have to do it with nothing. And that's hard because I did it with my career the last time when I was able to, kind of build up my nest egg and my confidence enough to go ahead and leave my career, the career that was my childhood dream. I had done it with the assistance of my career and using all of my gifts, but now that safety net is gone, so that means that this journey was going to be a little bit harder. But I believe in myself, and ultimately, y'all, I'm just going to be honest, I don't have no choice. Either I'm going to do it or I'm going to threaten homelessness, okay? And at this big age of 35, I'm too old. I'm too old. I don't want to go through that. I kind of already experienced home insecurity when I was transitioning out of grad school to go to my career, and a lot of financial things started happening. It ultimately was also spiritual warfare, but I already experienced living in a hotel for a few weeks. I think it was more than a few weeks. It was probably like 6 weeks because that was how long it took me to get from Alabama to Las Vegas. But I've already experienced that. Like I cannot afford to go through that. And I went through that at 28, 27. I was turning 28. I don't have that stamina. I don't. I'm just going to be 100%. I don't have that in me. And so I just said, okay, Brianna, you're going to have to use everything. You're going to have to throw your might at everything. But even as I am doing it, even though I am in the middle, I am still struggling. I am still struggling. And the reason why I think that people struggle at this moment, including myself, is because the pioneer's journey is the hardest journey. You are literally breaking up all of the ground. You are doing all of the hard stuff. You're literally getting a taste slapped out of your mouth because you're the first one to do it. People probably should have done it before you in your family, but when you realize the plight and the journey of the pioneer, no one wants to go through that hardship. No one wants to, struggle and go through the difficulty and feel the difficulty, the wind, the waves, the hardness of the dirt kicking up on you. Like no one wants to feel that. So while there probably should have been people who were coming before you in your lineage who were assigned to do their job, they may have opted out because of the hardness of the journey. And I know that I do still struggle with trying not to opt out. Like sometimes I'm like, tag me out, let me get out of the ring, let the next generation do it. And then I realize how far I've come, and I realize like, you're just going to kick the can down the road, Brianna. Like you've already undergone so much. Like, why would you stop now? You're not going to get the things that you suffer for. And I think that that is the thing that's kind of keeping me going, even though I'm starting from scratch, that I've already endured so much. Why wouldn't I get my things? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the journey, like I want what is owed to me. And if I have to cry forward, I'm going to cry as I move forward. If I'm going to, have to, look like Roscoe from Martin with the snot rolling down my nose because I'm ugly crying, I'm just going to have to do it. Like, there is no other alternative. And I'm always reminded of, that saying when people say you either sink or swim. I don't have an option to sink. It's either swim or swim. right? You're either going to swim or you're going to swim, because the option to sink is off the table. I've taken it off the table myself. And so if you've been feeling that, the pressure of being a first generation wealth builder, the pressure of breaking said generational curses, a lot of them deal with financial insecurity, then this video is for you. So please go ahead and like it, and let's go ahead and let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm struggling with comparison. I am. I'm struggling with comparison because everywhere I look around, I see someone else's blueprint. And I know that's not right, right? So y'all don't have to come in a chat in the comments, you comment warriors, and tell me you can't compare yourself. It's easier said than done. When you're looking around and people you may have started building with have surpassed you, they've gotten all these opportunities. Some you may feel deserve it, some not. I'm not God. I cannot make judgments or cast judgments on anyone. But when you see people you may have started with surpass you by leaps and bounds because they may have had certain connections and things of that nature, it's hard not to compare yourself. It's hard not to look at yourself and say, what am I doing wrong, right? Why isn't it happen for me? Why is my journey taking so long? All of these things, it's easy to look around and see it because they're everywhere. Like, in advanced transparency, I've had to deactivate my Instagram and my Facebook page. The only reason I'm still on TikTok is because I teach on TikTok on Wednesdays, but I had to deactivate those social media pages because everywhere I looked, it was like people was winning but me. And I've been in this constant state of what I feel is losing, right? This constant state of decline. And it has been painful. And it is just it's not something that I want to endure. Let's just say that. And, one thing that I have to kind of fight to remind myself is like, you're not running their race. You all are running two different races. Yes, you may have started at the same time. You may have had the same starting point or even similar. Your races are different because your callings are different, because, some things will take a long time, right? When you think about, and I don't know if you all drink wine, but let's just use a wine reference. When you are aging wine, the longer the wine has been aged, the better it generally is. And means that it's generally at a higher dollar price. Even with some liquors, they're at a higher price point when they're sold because how long it took to age. So I have a friend who was talking to me about some tequila. And he is a tequila connoisseur. And he's like, yeah, this tequila was aged for 12 years. So because it was aged in 12 years in a wine barrel, the price point was extremely high. And I was like, that's insane. But yeah, so he told me that, and it made me think about the aging process of you or me, the aging process that what am I trying to say? Ultimately, I'm trying to say it reminded me of the time it takes to create something smooth and great, right? Your aging process may be 3 years. Your aging process may be 2 years. My aging process has been, we're in 2025, 5 years. 5 years, God started talking to me. It's in 2025 years ago. And I'm like, God, dog, like, when we done? You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm aging like fine wine, thank you, but Lord, can we speed this process up? And no matter how many times I try to speed the process up, no matter how many times I try to get around it, I'm like, man, maybe I can do this and it'll do it. No, you can't spiritual bypass it. You can't manipulate God to get around it. You can't do a lot of things, and you just have to sit in it. You have to sit in it. You have to sit in your process. And ultimately, as you're sitting in your process, you have to resist the shame that may come along with it, because shame stops any action that you may have. So if it's taking you a long time to build it and do it, you make it shame around it. And, people, may not understand the process, and then you get discouraged and you stop movement. But that's not what you want to do. You want to overcome shame, keep looking forward, and do your part, because you're running your own race. And the Bible even tells you this. I have a scripture here, Proverbs 4:25. It tells you to let your eyes look straight ahead and fix your gaze directly before you. So you have to keep your eyes straight ahead on your journey. It's not easy. It's not pretty, but you have to kind of try to focus in. And that is something that I have to fight to do every day. I have to fight to focus. I have to fight to continue on running my race and staying in my lane, even if it's not time for the full revealing of my language. It's frustrating, but I do. And so that's one of the first things that I struggle with is comparison. The second thing that I am struggling with is having to learn everything that I wasn't taught. Now, I was a student my entire life. I didn't finish my degree until I was 28. And being a lifelong student meant that I was okay with delayed gratification. So after high school, it took me 10 years to earn 3 degrees, 4 years bachelor's, 2 years master's, 4 years PhD. And that delayed gratification taught me diligence, it taught me discipline, and it taught me to focus on the things that I say I really want. Now, when time starts speaking to you and you're tired, you're seeing all of these things kind of pass you up, it can get daunting. So I'm not opposed to, or I'm not a stranger to learning. I was also an academic for 5 years in my career after schooling. So the school system is not something that is foreign to me. What is foreign to me is sometimes learning a language that I wasn't taught from birth. And so I think I did a video a few weeks ago about the 32 million word gap, which ultimately says that children in more affluent homes hear 32 million words more than children in economically disadvantaged homes by the age, I think their age of they're like 4 or 5. So them hearing that many more words sets them up for more success, right? They're hearing the conversation, they're hearing the words, and therefore they have advantage. A 32 million word gap exists between more affluent homes than homes with disadvantaged families. And so when you think about that gap, it ultimately transfers to, in some type of way, some wealth gaps, right? And so I am one who comes from a disadvantaged home. I come from a single parent home in the inner city of Chicago, which is the nice way of saying I'm from the hood. I went to public school. I didn't have a teacher for much of my 8th grade year because we had substitutes, because we could not keep a teacher. Now, the thing that probably saved me a little bit more is that I was in private school up until 5th grade, and then I entered public school in 6th grade. But I say all this to say is that the educational decline of public schools started to kind of, it played with me. It started to get challenging academically. And so when I'm talking about learning things that I've never heard of and learning things that, were never taught to me, I'm having to do all the heavy lifting alone. I'm having to learn about budgeting, investing, saving, building, like all of this. And no, it's not my fault that I did not learn it, but it is my responsibility to change it. And carrying that responsibility is a heavy thing. It is not beautiful, but I do understand that the only way to kind of bridge the gap from where I am and where I want to be financially is re-educating myself, and that takes a lot of work. But the reason why I say re-education is and not education is because generally, if you're from a Black or brown community, a BIPOC community, we're generally not taught about money. Or we are taught about money, but it's in an indirect way. It's kind of like the bad parts about money. So we kind of formulate a psychology around money that is not healthy, and it leads to more poverty than not. But when you have been taught that for so long and you're in that system for so long, it takes you time to unlearn those things. And I have not been at this wealth building journey longer than I was in the poverty system. I have not. This is fairly new to me. This started in 2019. So I'm like 6 years out, but I spent a long time in, right? And so I'm having to re-educate myself, and it's difficult because the poverty system is more natural to me because I grew up in it. But as Hosea 4:6 tells us, that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And that doesn't mean that ignorance is your identity, which I don't believe it's my identity, but it means that information is important to our assignment. And I'm having to get all this information firsthand in real time, and it is not an easy thing. But I am here. I show up every day. I fight for the information, for the knowledge, for the know-how. And I just wanted to say that because I did not want you to think like, oh, Brianna, it's so easy for her. It's not. And I don't even have the systems that I had in place when I first started building wealth. They're gone. Okay, so I'm out here. I'm just out here. And it's just not fantastic. The next thing that I want to share with you is about the rewiring process. I am having to rewire how I see money. And I think that that happens in stages. It just doesn't happen because you want it to. It happens in stages. Like it is like a cyclical thing. So the more educated about money you get, the more the rewiring starts to happen, but it does not happen overnight. And so when I first started learning about building wealth on my own back in 2019, when I was getting out of that consumer debt, I had to start unlearning some things or breaking up with some things. But some of those fears that I initially had back then have been kind of amplified on this level because I am no longer in my career. I do not have the safety net and I'm just out here winging it in a lot of ways. And so what was once my ceiling has now become my floor, but this next level is hard because I don't have the systems that I once had, but I'm still having to play in an arena that I want to be in. Does that make sense? Like, I don't feel like I have everything I need, but I'm using everything I got to kind of stay in this arena and not fall backwards into a system of dependency. And it is challenging. It's challenging because in real time, I'm having to renew my mind, as Romans 12:2 says. And I'm realizing you cannot build wealth in fear. You cannot. And fear is a strong emotion, but fear is also a human emotion that we feel. It lets you know that we are at the end of ourselves and we realize the dangers and we are aware of these things. So we're not just out here all willy-nilly playing around. No, you are fearful for a reason, but you can't build wealth in fear. So that means that you have to consistently rewire your brain. And I have to rewire every day. I have to keep some type of finance content on, even when I'm frustrated with what I'm doing or frustrated with the journey. It's not an easy journey, but I'm having to kind of re-educate and rewire in real time at the same time. And, you know, if you are struggling with that rewiring, I want you to know that you're allowed to think bigger. You can think bigger so you can do bigger and you can build differently. You don't have to use the same systems that people are using. You can use whatever systems you feel like God is giving you, because ultimately those systems are the things that will break the generational cycles. And the last thing I want to talk about is the thing that you all may see me do the most is building systems and not just income. I'm trying to build containers that contain income whenever the income comes. Whenever, as the Bible people say, or the church going people say, the ravens come. I'm trying to build systems that will contain the money. Because if you don't know, making money is one thing, but focusing on keeping it and multiplying requires a different skill. It is not the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you're not smarter than a fifth grader. Okay, I remember that show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Sometimes you're not smarter than a fifth grader. One reason this is because your job is designed to give you income. We always look for a job because it's designed to give you income, but a system will give you freedom. So generally, you're trading your freedom for income, but when you build a system, you're trading your income for freedom. They don't always come at the same time. So you have to decide what's more important to you. So do you have a saving system? Do you have an investing system? Do you have a skill building system that increases your value over time? Ultimately, you need to kind of live by systems and structures because they both lead to sustainability. Sustainability is important, especially in times like this. So that means that you don't necessarily need a lot to begin. I wish I had a lot to begin with, but I don't. You don't need a lot to begin with. You need a plan that you can follow. Okay. You need a plan that you can follow. Any first generation builder, you need to know that you're not cursed. You are the example. And I know you don't want to be made an example of, and neither do I, but we don't have a choice when we're the ones who agreed. We agreed to follow God. We agreed with our yes. And so therefore, he's going to make you an example. And being made an example of is not always easy. So one thing I want you to do, and this is something that I have to do too, is write down 3 things you are never taught about money and choose one to study intentionally, because you always have to position yourself as a student. And I want you to know that you don't have to learn everything at once. You don't. You don't have to know everything. You just need to learn one thing at a time and then commit to the next step. All right. So if this episode has spoke to you, I want you to know that yes, this journey is hard, but it is also holy. And I want you to build with strategy, insight, and confidence. And so that is what I offer in my one-on-one strategy sessions. I help you build strategy. And always, you can always grab the Wealth Mastery Bundle, equipped with 2 ebooks, How I Saved $20,000 in 1 year and how you can too, and How I Climbed Out of Consumer Debt in 8 months and how you can too. They do come in a bundle. All the links that you need are in the description. And I want you to know that you can also continue watching the Recession Millionaires playlist for absolutely free if you just give this video a like. I would definitely appreciate it. And as always, y'all, you are the blueprint. I want you to know that you are the blueprint. That means that you're going to get the ugly sketches. It's not going to look beautiful. It's going to look like kind of like a skeleton of a thing sometimes, but if you continue to do what God is asking you to do, you will eventually see that beautiful house, beautiful thing that He had been instructing you to build come through your lineage, and you will be blessed, and so will your children's children. So that's all I got. I just wanted to kind of talk about myself, tell you all some things that I'm struggling with as I get up here and build and talk and chat and do all the things. I still do have struggles, and I want you to know that if you are a first generational builder, you are not alone. I'll see y'all soon in another installment of Recession Millionaires. Bye.